Hey everyone, so for this week's reading, I took a look at the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx. It was written in like the 1848 time as kind of a political pamphlet or like a call to action of the working class. Basically, Marx was writing during a time when the Industrial Revolution had created like huge gaps between, the rich and the poor. The book argues that throughout all of human history, it's really just a huge story of class struggles between people who have power and wealth and those who don't. The main idea is that the workers of the world should, unite, rise up, and overthrow the capitalist system to create a classless, equal society. So the manifesto is mainly dealing with political, economic, and moral questions like who should control the wealth and what does justice in society look like? Really, the kind of questions Mark is asking, I felt like were a little bit more political and philosophical than anything. He's trying to figure out why society is so divided in the first place and really how to fix it. His main argument is that capitalism naturally creates inequality because it depends on some people owning means of production and others selling the labor. And to support this, he uses like historical reasoning by looking back at different periods in history and basically says that every era has had an oppressed class and an oppressor class. And he also points to the economic realities of the time, like poor working conditions, child labor, and instability of industrial economies. Basically, he believes that capitalism will eventually destroy itself and become almost communist, where everything is shared equally. Now, with that being said, from a Christian perspective, I think Marx makes some really good observations about injustice, but I kind of feel like that's about as far as he goes sometimes. The Bible really calls us to care for the poor and challenge systems that exploit people. So Marx has that correct. I can agree that his heart for justice, because God also hates oppression. But like I said, I think Marx goes wrong in the foundation of his solution. If we completely get rid of, private property and remove religion, then people could be free and equal. That's where his thinking lies. But from a Christian worldview, he ignores that the deeper issue really is sin. And it's in the human heart. Even in a classless society, people are still capable of, greed, pride, selfishness. And for a little bit, we could have what he was talking about of everyone being equal. But then it would slowly start to form again into like what we had before, where unfortunately we had slavery, or we have, the poor versus the rich, or we have this, but it would be 10 times worse than what it was before because we've already tasted what it was to be in the different societies, but then we tasted a little bit of what we had to be equal, but then we wouldn't be able to stay there. We'd have to go back to what we knew. Even in a, like I said, even in a classless society, things are going to go wrong. And Marx saw religion, especially Christianity, as something that keeps people passive. And I, as a Christian, agree with that. We believe faith isn't something that just numbs us. It transforms us. It gives people purpose, dignity, and a reason to pursue real justice. So, while Marx wanted to build a kind of, I guess you could almost see it as like a heaven on earth through human power, that's where he falls short because we can't do that with human power alone. Christians believe that true redemption and justice can only come through Christ, not through politics, not through class or society. It comes through him alone. So in the end, Marx was right to notice that something is broken, but his solution replaces God with government. And without God at the center of even a so-called equal society, it would still fall apart morally and spiritually. So that left me with a couple of questions that I wanted to leave you with. So first, if Marx thought religion only existed to control people, how should Christians respond to that? How can we show that our faith actually sets people free rather than holding them back? And then 2, how can we pursue justice for the poor and oppressed in ways that reflect God's kingdom without falling into either extreme of greed or even a godless revolution? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and I will see y'all next week.